The wetland peninsula of Escambia was a place of glassy waters and constant whispers from natural springs that wove their way toward the sea. Soon-to-be Ambassador Endymion of the Honu stood near the shallows, staring out as the waters reflected the morning light. His task weighed heavily on him. Travel 40 miles to the old Daffin-house in Molino and negotiate a trade deal with the Tori, a race known for their sharp wit and agile flight. The Escambia Bale had a bounty of fish, salt, and pearls, all trade goods that could change their fortunes. But first, there was the matter of the Tori's reputation. Endymion had spent 2 careful days selecting his supplies: barrels of salted fish, pouches of luminous pearls, and bundles of fragrant herbs for barter. He requisitioned 2 sturdy riverboats and chose a trusted deputy alongside 4 warriors, strong, capable, and loyal. The Honu moved slowly but deliberately. Nothing was ever rushed. But as they set off along the Escambia River, Endymion couldn't shake the gnawing tension in his gut. While he traveled, Chaitin of the Teridae crew, a Tory of sharp feathers and sharper instinct, was already waiting at the Daffin-house. Chaitin's journey had taken him through treacherous negotiations with other Honu groups: the smooth-talking Malacocursus Bale, who turned their noses up at outsiders, and the aggressive Terrapin Spine, who preferred conquest over compromise. His wings were tired, his patience thin. And now, Chaitin waited in Molino, wary of another disaster. The old Daffin-house stood as a lonely sentinel along the river. Built by the Eri called a Limelick, its stone and timber walls promised neutral ground. Limelick himself was a solitary creature, as Eri often were. But his hospitality was unmatched, and his home was known across Arn as a sanctuary for travelers and negotiators alike. As Endymion's boats approached the Daffin-house, the Honu ambassador and his warriors disembarked. The ground was muddy, reeds swaying in the breeze. Before they could orient themselves, a rush of wind swept down from above. The Tori, led by Chaitin and his legate, swooped in with wings spread wide, landing with stunning precision mere feet from the Honu party. The sudden descent startled Endymion's warriors, who instinctively drew their weapons. "Take formation!" Endymion's deputy barked, and the Honu assumed battle stances, facing forward and spears raised. Chaitin blinked in disbelief. "Not again," he muttered, remembering the near bloodshed with the Terrapin Spine. He glanced back at his crew. They were too far behind to intervene. It would only take one misstep, one twitch of a claw, to spark violence. 2 battle lines formed, earth trembling under the heavy feet of the Honu, while the Tori spread their wings, poised to strike. Time seemed to slow as both ambassadors watched the distance shrink between their people. It would take only a breath to tip the scales toward bloodshed. Then, from behind an ancient oak, came a thunderous growl. The sound split the air, loud enough to shake the branches overhead. All eyes turned as a Limelick emerged from the shadows, his sharp claws flexing, his teeth bared. His presence was both terrifying and commanding. "Enough!" A Limelick roared, his voice a rolling thunder. "This is my ground. My roof will not see bloodshed today." The Honu froze, the Tori stilled. Endymion met Chaitin's wary gaze, the unspoken understanding passing between them. Slowly, cautiously, the ambassadors ordered their men to stand down. Spears lowered, wings folded. Tension bled from the air like steam from a cooling pot. Inside, a Limelick growled. "The Daffin-house is for words, not war." The interior of the Daffin-house was warm and dim, the scent of smoked fish and fresh fruit hanging in the air. A Limelick seated the ambassadors at a sturdy oak table, laying out food and drink, nuts and fruit, salted meats, and river herbs steeped in hot water. He took his place as mediator, his piercing eyes sweeping over both sides. The negotiations began slowly, words measured and cautious. Endymion spoke of Escambia's riches, the clarity of the springs that produced pearls of unmatched beauty, the fish that thrived in their fertile waters, and their carefully harvested salt. Chaitin countered with the Tori's offerings, rare woods from the highlands, coveted for their strength and beauty, and seeds of grain that could grow tall and plentiful even in harsh soil. Hours passed, the crackle of the hearth the only sound during lulls in conversation. Arguments flared, but were swiftly quelled by a Limelick's calm but firm interjections. At last, the agreement came to life. Pearls and salt from the Escambia Bale in exchange for exotic woods and grain seeds from the Teridae crew. They would meet at the Daffin-house at the end of each season to exchange goods under a Limelick's watchful eye. For his role, the Eri would take a small cut of the trade, a fair price for safety and neutral ground. As the two ambassadors clasped hands to seal the deal, the tension of earlier seemed a distant memory. Outside, the moon cast its silver glow over the wetlands, the river carrying their shared promises toward the sea. Trade, Endymion mused, was like the water itself, ever-shifting, fluid, and sometimes turbulent. But on Arn, it was the lifeblood of connection. Today, at least, two peoples had found a current to carry them forward. And for Limelight, the Daffin-house had once again lived up to its purpose, a haven of peace in a world that could so often choose war.